413 Sports Talk Conversations. This time we're at the South End Community Center. The woman I'm sitting with today comes from a long line of athletes, and in the 413 is someone I consider basketball royalty. In the flesh, literally. A coach with a basketball story rich in history and athleticism. I am honored to welcome Coach Tiara to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, good to have you. Your dad, your brothers, a few examples of athletes in your family, legends on the court, some of them to say the least. When was it that you fell in love with basketball?
So I started to fall in love with basketball before I even actually started to play basketball. I had watched my relatives play so much. I was always going to their games. And then one day during my sophomore year of high school is actually when I started to play. But before that, I would fall asleep watching basketball. I would just watch it whenever I could. And that was the moment that I really fell in love with basketball. I would just watch my relatives play it, watch it on TV, and then once I started to play, it was a wrap from there.
Awesome, right? Because you had that perspective of seeing it. When you were growing up, did you benefit from any basketball camps or like personal training or anything like that?
So I never went to any camps, never went to any trainings. I just started playing my sophomore year of high school and then just played on from there. I never got any training in the sport.
All right. Now I know you talked about your family members and stuff like that. Is there any one person that you could point to who would be the inspiration, I would say, for you, like getting on the court?
When it comes to my family members, it would probably be my cousin Travis Suber.
Okay, I've heard the name.
Yes, he was just very athletic. He still is, even though he's getting on the older side. But just watching him, he was always very humble and very quiet when he played, and he would just let his game show like his true talent and abilities. Never speak to refs. Even now, he really doesn't even speak to refs. He stays quiet and he just plays the game of basketball.
That's awesome. And you hate being a competitor and talking smack and everything. You hate that because when dudes just play game and just hit those threes, they hit them shots.
Yeah.
Reminds me of somebody. At what point in your life, in between playing basketball and not, would you say that you decided, hey, maybe I want to be a coach?
So I was never sure about coaching basketball. When I was still in college, I started coaching back at my high school in Enfield. I started coaching track. Okay. So I coached track there for 2 years. And then I ended up graduating. I had my kids. And the position that I was offered kind of just fell into my lap.
Awesome.
And I was like, I really love basketball, and I've never coached it, but I feel like my skill set is pretty good where I should be able to. I know how to coach an athlete. It's just a different sport now.
Right.
So I was an assistant coach or co-head coach to start off, and I was just like, it's here, let me give it a shot and see what it's like.
Right. And you've had success from what I've seen, which is awesome. Going back again, if we're talking about high school, so you're playing basketball and doing track at the same time. What do you do as far as your solution for like nutrition and like a rest and relaxation type? Because that's like go time all the time. How do you balance that, or what processes do you use?
So when I was in high school, I wouldn't say I had the best nutrition or the best like recovery methods. I kind of just did whatever our athletic trainer told me to do. Okay. As far as nutrition, I know that I was eating a lot, and I was having home-cooked meals almost every single night, so that was extremely helpful. But I never really paid attention to those things, and it's nothing that my coach ever really discussed or talked to us about. So that's one thing that I tried to incorporate now with my players, because I know that I didn't necessarily get it as much as I should have when I was in high school, so I try and do it with them.
Awesome. That is what it's all about, teaching the next generation, making them more prepared. Now, as far as getting your heels wet in coaching. What was your very first gig?
So my very first gig was the Bay State Polo Co-op.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, again, pertaining to coaching, is there anyone on your level, collegiately or professionally, that you would, I don't know if necessarily the term is like look up to, but like, kind of say, oh, hey, I like what he does, I like what she does, let me try to incorporate. Is there anyone?
So I went to Springfield College, actually, and I recently actually just went through, we have like this PE Mayford convention that's out in Worcester. Okay. And one of my old teachers, Charlie Sullivan, who's actually the men's volleyball coach at Springfield College, he really instilled something in me recently about the way that we should act as coaches, the way that we treat our athletes, and the way that we like run our practices and all this stuff. And I sat in that seminar for about I think it was an hour, and I really took a lot of what he said in, and have since then been doing some research. And I know it's a totally different sport, but his main goal was about us understanding how to coach young athletes.
Right.
And ever since then, there's a lot of things that he said during that conference that have just really stuck with me about how I act as a coach, the things that I expect from my athletes, and how I represent my athletes and they also represent me.
Awesome. I like that answer. It's as the interviewer on this side, you kind of expect somebody say, Phil Jackson or just and then just give list reasons, and I think that's really unique and that's awesome. Now, when it comes to tryouts at the beginning of the season, what kinds of things do you look for in players that you would like to add to your roster?
So my biggest thing when it comes to tryouts is my athletes need to be team players, and just the way that they speak to one another. It's not just about like one sole person. Right. And during tryouts, I look for people who are good teammates first. And then I look at our basic skill stuff. At Southwick, because it's a 7 through 12 school, it's in the numbers on the team. We don't really have to make any cuts, which is helpful. Okay. So I've never had to cut anyone in my 2 years there. So I've been blessed with that. Okay. But being a good teammate is definitely the first thing that I look at, and then I look at skill set and just basically, are you going to be on varsity? Do you have the skills to be on varsity, or do you have the skills to be on JV this year? Awesome.
I like that whole no cuts thing. That's new to me, honestly. What do you think is the most important piece of advice that you've been given so far on your basketball journey?
I would say the best piece of advice that I've been given is, at the end of the day, it's not about the wins and the losses.
Gets it.
It's definitely just more for me about like team growth and improving players. And if I focused on just wins and losses, even when I was at the Bay State Polo Co-op, then especially in my first 2 years when I was there, then it would look like we didn't grow based on our wins and losses. And I know that the players did grow. And I know that even with a winning record right now, that my players are still growing and improving. And that's the best piece of advice that I've ever been given, just to focus on growth as a team, growth as individual players, and not just the win and losses.
Right, and then that growth is constant, never stopping, always, the ball is always moving. What does the future of Southwick Rams basketball look like going forward?
So I think we have a pretty young team. This year we only have 3 seniors. Last year we graduated 4 seniors. One of my starters now is a freshman. She helped us a lot last year, even as an 8th grader. Awesome. For us, I just see us continuing to go up and up and up these next few years. We have a lot of talent on JV, young talent some 7th graders, some 8th graders who are really doing well and are slowly getting the growth to become varsity players. So for us, I think within the next 2 years, we have a really good shot at our conference title and continuing to make a run in states.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This is 413 Sports Talk Conversations. I'm here with Coach Tiara from the Southwick Rams. Thank you very much for your time on the show. You're welcome back anytime, and I wish you the best going forward.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.